Hey everyone, ever looked at your overflowing shelves of hobby stuff and thought, could this be a gold mine?
You're not alone.
That's what we're diving deep into today.
Yeah.
The wild world of weird asset investing. Forget stocks.
Right.
We're talking about vintage toys,
Oh, yeah.
rare books,
Absolutely.
even those collectible sneakers you've been hunting,
Uh-huh.
turning your passion into profit.
That's the dream, isn't it? What's so captivating is that it flips the script on hobbies just being for fun.
I love that.
We're going to break down not just if your passion has money-making potential,
Okay.
but how DB to approach it strategically.
It's like that secret level of adulthood we unlock,
Right.
where passion and profit actually work together.
Absolutely.
But realistically,
Sure.
not every collection is going to be a winner.
You're absolutely right.
So where do we even begin to figure that out?
You hit the nail on the head. Not all hobbies are created equal in the market. For example, think back to those action figures and board games from your childhood. Like in the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely.
Remember that pure joy ripping open a He-Man or Transformers toy?
My sibling and I, we would spend hours battling those things. It was epic.
Well, guess what? That nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's driving a huge IE market right now.
No way.
A mint condition He-Man figure.
Yeah.
Still in the packaging.
Wow.
That recently sold for over $5,000.
Seriously.
So those childhood memories could be serious cash.
That's wild. So it's about understanding which items have market value,
Exactly.
not just sentimental value.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's like with rare books.
Yeah.
It's not just liking the story.
Right.
A first edition of The Hobbit,
Oh, wow.
signed by Tolkien himself,
Okay.
sold for over $100,000
When was that?
back in 2015.
Wow. But you need the knowledge to know it's a true first edition.
You got it.
Okay, so it's like being a detective.
Uh-huh.
Got to know the clues to find the real treasure. But how do we even start that research? It's a whole secret language to decode.
There's a learning curve, for sure, but that's what we're here for.
Okay, good.
Resources like Bleeding Cool for comics
I've heard of that.
and Sneaker News,
Oh, yeah.
those can help you see what's hot and what's not.
Interesting.
Think of them as your insider guide to trends in collecting.
Okay, so they aren't just for geeking out about new releases.
They show you what people are willing to pay, too.
So I can see if those Pokemon cards I've been holding on to are actually worth anything.
Exactly.
Or if they're just destined for the memory box.
Precisely. And remember, platforms like eBay and
Yeah.
Etsy,
Right, yeah.
those aren't just for selling.
Oh, interesting.
They're fantastic research tools.
Okay.
You can see what similar items have sold for.
Makes sense.
Gives you a realistic sense of market value.
This is making me want to raid my attic.
Uh-huh. I bet. But okay, let's say you've identified a potential gold mine in your hobby stash. It's not as simple as just listing it online and waiting for the bids to roll in.
I figured as much.
You're already thinking strategically, which is great.
Well, I'm trying.
Building a smart collection.
Right.
It's about more than just finding random items you like.
Okay.
It's about understanding condition,
Condition, okay.
rarity,
Got it.
and even authenticity.
So, like, even if I do have that He-Man figure from my childhood,
Uh-huh.
if it's missing its sword and all beat up,
Yeah.
it's probably not worth as much as a pristine one, right?
Exactly. Condition is huge EE in determining value.
Right.
Let's say you've got vintage comic books.
Okay, yeah.
A comic graded 9.8 on the CGC scale.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
That's near mint.
Okay.
Could be worth thousands.
Seriously.
The same issue in a lower grade.
Like a 5.
Exactly. Might only fetch a few bucks.
So that grading system is super important then.
You got it.
Not all vintage is created equal.
Precisely. And this is where specialized tools come in.
Okay.
Price charting for video games. Go collect for comics.
Right.
These track historical data,
Interesting.
give you a sense of how prices have changed over time.
It's like having a crystal ball for future value.
In a way, yeah. So before you buy every vintage video game you see,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
do some research on which ones are actually going up in value.
Makes sense.
It's about making informed decisions.
Right.
And don't forget networking,
Oh, good point.
connecting with other collectors.
Like at conventions?
Conventions, forums,
Yeah.
even online groups. It can be incredibly valuable.
So it's like a secret society of treasure hunters.
Kind of, yeah. It's about sharing knowledge, passion.
Okay.
Sometimes you even score amazing deals.
That's awesome.
But remember, even with the best approach,
Yeah,
there are risks with any investing, especially weird assets.
that's true.
Trends change, things fall out of favor.
Right.
There's always the risk of fakes.
And scams.
Exactly. So What are some red flags we should watch out for?
Good question. What should we be looking for?
First off, deals that seem too good to be true.
Like what?
If you see a rare collectible for a fraction of its value,
Yeah,
it's probably a scam.
makes sense.
Do your research on sellers,
Okay,
check their reputation,
got it.
look for detailed descriptions,
Uh-huh.
high-quality photos of the items.
So it's like the online dating world of collecting. Trust your gut.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And always insist on proof of authenticity,
Oh.
especially for high-value items.
Right.
Reputable sellers will provide a certificate of authenticity
I see.
from a recognized grading service, like CGC for comics or PSA for trading cards.
Okay, so provenance is key.
You got it. It's your guarantee the item is genuine.
Like a detective verifying the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But even with precautions, isn't there still a chance the market could shift
Sure.
and my collection could lose value?
There's always that risk, which
Yeah.
is why diversification is so important.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Just like you wouldn't with stocks.
Okay, but how do you diversify within weird assets?
That's where things get interesting. Imagine this.
Aye.
You could focus on a specific ERA within your hobby,
Okay.
like 80s toys,
Great.
or branch out into related categories.
Like vintage video games if I'm a comic book collector.
Precisely. The key is finding areas that overlap with your interests while
Right.
tapping into different market trends.
So it's about building a curated portfolio of passion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another crucial aspect,
Yeah.
responsible investing. Only invest what you can afford to lose.
Good point.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement.
Yeah.
But don't let your passion lead to reckless decisions.
It shouldn't come at the expense of your financial well-being.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Right.
Where passion and profit intersect,
Okay.
but always with a mindful approach to responsible investing.
That's great advice.
Now let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and explore some of the less traditional ways to monetize your passion.
I'm all ears.
Have you ever thought about turning your expertise into a side hustle?
I've sold some of my collection online,
Sure.
but I haven't really thought beyond that.
Well, have you considered teaching others what you know?
Teaching.
Think about it. You've spent years honing your skills,
Yeah,
learning the ins and outs of your hobby.
that's true.
That knowledge is valuable. Platforms like Skillshare and Udemy
I've heard of those.
make it super easy to create and sell online courses.
Wait, so I could create a course on, like, identifying first edition comic books
Exactly.
or restoring vintage game consoles?
Absolutely. There's a huge demand for niche knowledge.
Really?
People are willing to pay to learn from experts.
Wow, okay.
It's a fantastic way to share your passion,
Right?
build a community,
Mm-hmm.
and earn some extra income.
My mind is officially blown. This is way more than just buying and selling stuff.
Getting it, it's about leveraging your expertise,
Yeah.
creating a brand around your passion.
Wow.
You become a thought leader in your niche.
Oh.
And it doesn't have to stop at online courses.
Oh.
Have you thought about a blog or YouTube channel?
I love writing and making videos,
Say.
but I never connected it to my collecting.
But that's the beauty of it. You blend your passions, create something unique.
Interesting.
Imagine sharing your collection with the world.
Yeah.
Reviewing rare items, connecting with other enthusiasts.
Okay.
You could even earn money through affiliate marketing, sponsorships, ad revenue.
Hold on. This is a lot to process. It's
Right.
like you opened up a whole new world.
It's about having a strategic mindset,
Yeah.
knowing where to look,
Right.
understanding the market,
Got it.
and leveraging your expertise.
You build a brand around your passion.
Exactly. And trust me, we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's keep going.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about identifying those hidden gems, doing the research, and understanding the market. But now it's starting to feel like there's a whole business side to this weird asset world, too.
You're right, there is. A lot of people just see collecting as a hobby, but you can actually use that knowledge to create a real income stream.
That's what's so fascinating. Is like we're uncovering this secret level of expertise that goes beyond just liking stuff. So how do you even start if you want to take it beyond the occasional online sale?
Well, let's go back to those vintage video games we were talking about. Instead of just buying and selling, imagine you become the person to go to for restoring those classic consoles.
Okay. Yeah.
You could even offer repair services or create custom modifications.
So you're taking those skills you've developed from tinkering with your own stuff and turning it into a service for other people.
Exactly. It's all about finding a niche where your passion and your expertise line up with what people need.
That's brilliant.
And it doesn't have to be hands-on either. What if you've spent years becoming a walking encyclopedia of first edition comic books?
I can already see it. Comic to consultant extraordinaire. But seriously, is there actually a market for that?
Oh, absolutely. High-end collectors often need help authenticating items.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They need help building their collection strategically or even navigating those crazy online auctions. They'll pay for expert guidance.
Wow, that's like being a financial advisor, but for weird assets. Okay, I'm really liking this whole side hustle concept.
Hmm.
But what if you're not ready to quit your day job and go all in?
You don't have to. There are so many ways to test it out without taking a big leap.
Right.
We already talked about Skillshare and Udemy, but even just making how-to videos for YouTube can get you a following.
Yeah.
And you could even start generating some income that way.
It's amazing how the internet has made it so easy to share this niche knowledge with the whole world.
It really is.
I guess the days of being the only one in your town who gets the value of a rare Beanie Baby are gone.
That's for sure. And that's why building a community is so important in this world. Connecting with other collectors through forums, online groups, or even attending conventions can be so valuable.
So it's not just about the stuff itself, it's the people who are into it too.
Yeah. Fellow collectors can help you spot fakes.
Oh, right.
They can share tips on where to find those rare items and even collaborate on projects.
It's like you're part of a whole ecosystem.
Exactly. You're not just buying and selling, you're part of a thriving community.
Okay, this is making me want to dig out my old Star Wars action figures. I need to see what treasures I might have missed.
I bet you'll find some. But remember, even with all this excitement, you have to be realistic.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Not every hobby is going to make you a millionaire.
Right. As much as I love my vintage board games, I don't think the market for a 1970s Monopoly set is that hot.
Probably not. That's why research is so important.
Yeah.
You got to look at the historical data,
Okay.
analyze current trends, get a sense of whether the value of your collection is going up or if it's just staying the same. Sometimes passion and profit line up perfectly, but sometimes it really is just about the joy of collecting.
I guess it's like any investment, you have to be prepared for wins and losses.
Exactly.
But even if it doesn't make me rich, it's still awesome to be surrounded by all this cool stuff I love.
That's the right attitude. You got to find that balance between passion and making smart decisions.
Right.
And remember, even within a specific hobby, there can be niches that are way more popular than others.
So even if vintage board games aren't setting the world on fire, maybe there's a certain type, like a rare wargaming set, that has a dedicated following and could be really valuable.
Exactly. It's about going deep, understanding those little details within your hobby,
Okay.
and becoming an expert in a specific area. That's what makes you stand out as a collector and potentially as an investor.
This is making me rethink all those times I thought my interests were too niche or too weird.
Huh.
Maybe that's actually my secret weapon.
I love that. Embrace those quirks, those unique tastes. Don't be afraid to dive into those rabbit holes. You never know what you might find, both in terms of personal satisfaction and maybe even profit.
Okay, so we've talked about research, networking, the side hustle potential, and finding your niche. But I feel like there's got to be more to this weird asset world. What other things should we be thinking about?
You're right. There's another layer that people often forget about, but it's so important, especially when we're talking about turning passion into profit.
Okay, you've got me curious. What is it?
It's the ethical side of collecting and investing.
Ethics.
Oh.
That's not what I expected to come up in a conversation about toys and comic books.
It might surprise you. Think about it. As these items get more and more valuable, there's a temptation to cut corners, maybe inflate prices, or even do some things that aren't so honest.
Okay, I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, when there's a lot of money involved, things can get shady.
So how do you even begin to navigate those ethical situations?
It starts with being aware of the potential problems. For example, right now there's a big debate about those big money investors coming into the weird asset market. Some people say they're driving up prices and making it impossible for the average collector to afford their passion.
Oh, interesting. It's like gentrification, but for collectibles.
Exactly. So how do you avoid becoming part of that problem?
Right.
It's all about making conscious choices and being mindful of your impact. Let's say you're selling something. Maybe think about offering it to other collectors in your community first. Maybe even give them a little discount before putting it up for sale on a big platform where someone just looking to make money might grab it.
So it's more about community and the love of the hobby rather than just squeezing every dollar out of it.
That's the idea. You got to find that balance between making smart investments and keeping the collecting world a good place to be. And that can even extend to thinking about the environment.
Environmental impact. How does that come into play?
Think about all the packaging, shipping materials, all the energy used to run those online marketplaces.
Okay, yeah.
There's a whole environmental footprint that comes with buying and selling. So maybe you choose to buy locally whenever you can. Or you reuse and recycle packaging materials.
So it's bringing in those same eco-friendly choices we try to make in other parts of our lives.
Exactly. It's about being a responsible collector and investor. That means thinking about your impact on both the community and the planet. Sometimes it means making choices that might not make you the most money right away, but in the long run, it makes for a healthier, more sustainable collecting world.
You know, I never thought about that ethical side before. This isn't just about finding rare items and making money.
Right?
It's about being part of a community and making sure your choices align with your values.
I'm glad you see that. And I think that leads perfectly into another aspect that often gets overlooked, preservation.
Preservation. Tell
Yeah.
me more. Why is that so important when we're talking about old toys and comics and stuff like that?
We talk about these things as investments, which they are,
Yeah.
but they're also pieces of history.
Oh,
They're cultural artifacts that tell a story about who we are and where we come from. As collectors, it's our job to make sure those stories are around for future generations.
it's like being a caretaker, protecting something bigger than yourself.
Mhm.
So what does preservation actually involve?
It can be simple things like storing your collection properly,
Okay, yeah.
using archival quality materials to protect them from light, moisture, and bugs.
Right.
But it can also mean learning how to clean and repair items the right way so you don't damage them.
Wow.
It could even mean documenting the history of a piece to prove it's authentic so its value lasts.
It's a whole other level of expertise. You don't just need to know what it's worth.
Right.
You have to know how to take care of it so it can be enjoyed for years to come.
That's exactly it. That dedication to preservation, that knowledge, that's what separates the true collectors from those who are just trying to make a quick buck. They get that these things are historically and culturally important, and they want to safeguard them for the future.
You're making me look at my own collection totally differently. I've always loved the excitement of finding rare stuff, but knowing you're preserving something special for the future adds a whole new level of satisfaction.
It really is rewarding. And it ties back into that sense of community we were talking about. When you share that passion for preservation, you're not just helping yourself.
Right.
You're helping to ensure that the whole weird asset world keeps going strong.
This is so inspiring. It feels like we've gone from the practical side of finding profitable hobbies all the way to the ethical considerations and now the importance of preservation.
It's a whole philosophy of collecting.
It really is. You're approaching it with a mindful, informed, and passionate attitude.
And there's still so much more to discover as we keep diving deep into this fascinating world.
I'm ready for more. What else is out there? Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into weird assets.
We have.
From finding those profitable hobbies, understanding the market, to ethics and preservation. It's been a whirlwind.
You've been a great sport through it all.
Well, I'm trying. But there's got to be like one final piece to this puzzle, right?
You're right. There's one more thing I want to share, something that can really make a difference.
Okay, I'm listening.
It can help you unlock the full potential of your passion.
Ooh, now you've got me really curious. What is it?
It's all about developing your own unique perspective.
Perspective. Okay, how does that even work with collecting and investing?
Think about it. There are tons of collectors out there, right?
Oh, yeah, millions, I bet.
And they're all chasing after the same rare items.
All right, the hot trends.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what makes your collection different? What's the story you're telling with the things you choose?
Okay, I'm starting to see what you mean.
It's not just about having a lot of stuff.
Right.
It's about curating a collection that shows your individual taste.
And your knowledge.
Exactly. It's about having a point of view, a focus that goes beyond just buying things.
So maybe you specialize in a certain ERA of toys?
That's one way to do it.
Or like focusing on female comic book artists?
That's a great example.
Or video games that have like historical significance?
Precisely. That's what makes you stand out as a collector,
As an expert.
even as an entrepreneur in this world.
I've always been fascinated by like vintage video games with unique box art,
Uh-huh.
especially from the early 80s.
Yeah.
I never thought of it as a focus, but now that you mention it,
It makes you unique.
it's definitely something that sets my collection apart.
That's perfect. By focusing on that specific thing,
The box art.
yeah, you're not just collecting games, you're telling a story
Oh, wow.
about art and design in the gaming industry.
I never thought about it like that.
You're giving your collection context and meaning.
It's like a mini museum of video game art history.
Right. Way more interesting than a random bunch of games.
That's so cool. And that attracts other collectors.
Absolutely.
And that builds a following.
And ultimately drives value.
Okay, so how do I actually develop this perspective? Is it something you're born with?
It's a little of both, honestly.
Uh,
Some people, yeah, they're naturally drawn to the unusual.
The things other people overlook.
Exactly.
Mm.
But I think anyone can learn to be more discerning. Yeah. And more confident in their own taste.
So it's about trying new things,
Uh-huh.
asking questions,
Challenging the status quo even.
not being afraid to go deep.
Dive down those rabbit holes of curiosity.
This makes me think about all the times I was like, my interests are too weird.
Uh-huh. But that's what makes you you.
Maybe that's actually my superpower in the weird asset world.
It could be. Embrace those quirks, the things that make you different.
Okay, so it's not just about getting stuff.
It's bigger than that.
It's about learning,
Refining your taste.
building a brand around you.
You got it. It's what makes weird asset investing more than just making money.
I love that.
It's a way to express yourself,
Yeah.
connect with others, even leave your mark on the world.
Wow, that's amazing. It's not just the objects themselves.
Right.
It's the stories, the connections.
And the passion they inspire.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
Glad I enjoyed it.
I have a whole new understanding of this world.
That's great to hear.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are just starting out?
My advice: follow your heart, collect what you love, what speaks to you.
Don't chase trends, right?
Exactly. Don't try to be someone you're not. Authenticity is key.
It's like do what you love and the money will follow.
Haha, exactly.
But in this case, it's collect what you love and the value, both financial and depersonal, will follow.
Beautifully said. And remember, the world of weird assets is huge E, always changing.
There are always new things to find.
New connections to make, new stories to tell.
Well, I'm definitely feeling inspired to go look at my own collection with fresh eyes.
That's the spirit.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and passion today. It's been amazing.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it.
And to our listeners, happy collecting.
May your shelves be filled with treasures.
Treasures that spark joy, ignite curiosity,
And maybe, just maybe, turn a profit along the way.
and until next time, keep diving deep.